Hello everybody, welcome to episode 11 of FPL Affairs, the podcast that discusses our 9-month-long love affair with FPL, including the ins and outs that keep us awake at night. Hopefully not through the international break. In this video, we look at 5 alternative Game Week 12 wildcard drafts, each with a different focus, compare them to see which one Fantasy Football Hub deems the best. Let's get cracking.
And there's Mo Salah. There goes Haaland. He's on his way again. He's hungry. He scored. Ice cold precision from Palmer. Kayo Saka. That is a diamond of a goal.
Hello everybody, welcome to episode 11, which I already said in the intro. So, how's your international week going? How about yours, Jack? How's yours?
Pretty dull, but no, yeah, just ready to get back to FPL now. About 1,000 different ways I can go, but we'll see. How about you?
Well, I'm going to say, from a monumental Sunday, they were made in Chelsea, but they've ridden the waves in Geordie Shores. Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento. What a pair of fullbacks for England. And polished off with a bit of Scouse gravitas of Anthony Gordon.
Just say Tino Livramento wasn't made in Chelsea, was he?
How's your Southampton head?
Yeah, Harwood Bellis, that was good to watch. He's done that quite a few times, to be fair. He's got good goal threat. Does pop up with a header. Did plenty in the Championship. He seems to very rarely score in the Premier League, though, and sort of score in the Cup. Southampton aren't really known for set-piece threat. Not known for threat, full stop, really. But they're known from, like, an area of threat. There's just no threat. But no, in his defence, he has got a good header on him. So it was nice to see him score on debut. I did think when it was 0-0, I thought, oh, this is a shame. Because do you know what I mean? He would come on if it was comfortable. So yeah, it was good to see him. I don't think he gets the respect he deserves. I think he was under 21 captain, obviously ahead of Colwill. Colwill got the move to Chelsea. Harwood Bellis went on loan to Burnley, then went on loan to Southampton, and is now a Southampton player. So I think we both know whose career is in the best position. But no, I don't think he gets the respect he deserves. He's a great player. One of the best I've seen up there over the last couple of years. Not the best centre-back I've seen there. We've had loads of those. Some very good ones. But no, he's a good player. I think he'll end up a future England starter, definitely, I think.
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Let's go.
This episode, following on from episode 10, where Jack and I did our own wildcard drafts. This one, we looked at a few more alternative ones with different themes. Right, should we move on to those wildcard drafts?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the first one to come up is a big at the back wild card, which reading out has Raya and Fabianski in goal, Konate, Aït-Nouri, Gabriel, Hall and Gvardiol in defence, Palmer, Rogers, Fernandez, Salah and Semenyo in midfield, Isak, Cunha and João Pedro up front. First impressions?
I think it looks quite good. I think it looks quite balanced. There's an obvious omission of Haaland in it.
Yeah.
But I quite like it. I quite like it, actually. I think it's a nice looking team. Again, like I said, balance and a lot of nice bench options. I think it's important coming into this busy Christmas period to not just have nail players. You need to have nail players, but you need to have starting. Do you know what I mean? You have players that start and have options, and if there are players that are rested, to have players come off the bench and not just for me, like for example, a Wout Fass who's just going to give you a 2 and do you a favour, but somebody like on that defence there, if an Eight Nuri gets suspended, you've got some real good cover there. I would look at that team though and think that is some benching headaches.
Yeah.
Every week would be an absolute nightmare. If that was my team, that would be melee. If you had this team, just be okay with benching 8 to 12 points every week.
Yeah, I think first in-depth thoughts of this, really completely agree, benching headaches, but you'd be thinking formation-wise, depending on fixtures, you're looking at either 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, in which case Eight Nuri and Hall are your 4th and 5th choice defenders.
Yeah.
But if they've got good fixtures, you'd be flexible enough to play 4 at the back.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, João Pedro's got fixtures, Cunha's got good fixtures, Isak's got good fixtures. We've just discussed that Semenyo's got good fixtures. You're not benching Salah, Fernandes or Palmer. Rodgers has got the odd good fixture and playing for a good side. And then Hall has got good fixtures. Eight Nuri's got good fixtures. So, yeah, for me, that would be carnage. That would be, every week would be a massive headache. However, I do think this is a very, very nice team to have going into a busy Christmas period.
Well, it would take away on the pro side. On the pro side, it would take away the transfer headaches. It would just be benching headaches.
Yeah, this is a good team that you would happily just sit and roll, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
There's not many big issues there. And even if somebody got injured in there, would you need to move them on? Not really. No, even if Kanate, Gabriel or Vardio, if one of them got injured, we'd quite happily playing somebody else. Same with the front three, and same with pretty much anyone in the midfield. Obviously, Salah and Palmer, if one of them got injured, you probably want to sort of transfer to a Saka or another premium. But yeah, I quite like that team.
And for those of you watching or listening, these wildcard drafts, Jack and I did not have any input into the putting together of these.
Thank you to Dave.
Yeah, they were Mohammed, also in the admin team. He put these ones together, and we set I think 101 million budget based on the understanding that people would have some of these players already and have value in those. So that's why we stretched to 101 rather than stick.
Yeah, I think the majority of people have 101 million by now. I think a vast majority, if not a whole lot more. So there's scope to upgrade here, but yeah.
Yeah. Next wildcard.
I reckon that's going to be quite good, that one. When you asked me to rate him at the end, I reckon that one's going to be probably first.
Oh yes, again, as that reminds me, yeah, these wild cards, I've entered all of them into the Rate My Team tool on Fantasy Football Hub, which is free to use, and each one I got a rating out of 100. And we're going to check with Jack after we've looked at the wild card.
Literally just say
if he can,
last one.
If he's on the same wavelength as them.
I think I'm going to find it really hard because I just said, I reckon that one's going to be the top one. I've looked at this and gone, I reckon this one's going to be the top one. I think so far, I bet those two are within like 1% of each other.
So yeah, this second one, big up top, looking primarily at the getting a balanced attacking trio. So reading it off, Verbruggen and Fabianski in goal. Back five of Konate, Aït-Nouri, Gabriel, Hall and Colwell. So only one different to the last one.
Mm.
In midfield, Palmer, Rogers, Mbeumo, Salah and Semenyo. And up front, Isak, Jackson and Havertz. Thoughts on this one?
I don't like it as much as the last one. I would say so far both squads have been very nice squads. There's no duds, there's no deads, there's no Harvard Bellises or Tyler Diblins or do you know what I mean? There's no cheapos, there's no benching fodder. They're all quite nice squads going into a busy Christmas period. This one's obviously got triple Chelsea, double Liverpool, double Arsenal, double Newcastle. There's some good teams in this one. I don't like this as much as the last one, I've got to be honest. Again,
any particular reason?
I don't like I feel like if you were to do a Havertz to a who was the budget? João Pedro in the last one, then Semenyo could become a Saka if you had decent team value, or a Fernandes. Do you see what I mean? I feel like having Rodgers and Semenyo is great, but I would rather have. Let's just see how I can phrase it. If you look at Havertz and Semenyo, I'd rather have Fernandes and João Pedro or Saka and Cunha.
Yeah,
do you see what I mean? I don't like Havertz as an option, but if that was Ollie Watkins, all of a sudden I'd probably be talking slightly different. And we did have a conversation in the last video where I think people are sleeping on these big forwards. Everybody's chasing the premium midfielders, and an Isak, a Jackson, and a Havertz, and who's the bloke I just said, Ollie Watkins. I think are going to be very good options going over the next few weeks. But I like that. I like how you still got a decent defence, a good solid midfield. Verbruggen's a good option in goal as well with some good fixtures.
Saves saves 1 million on Raya.
Saves 1 million straight away on Raya. I actually think Brighton look better defensively this season than they did last year. Although it would have been hard to keep less clean sheets. They're not known for being a solid defence. But no, I like that one. I just prefer the last one. The first one for me would be a more exciting team.
Looking at this one and taking into account what you said about Watkins, and when we spoke about the defenders option a few minutes ago, and Luca Dean and Aston Villa having 3 home fixtures in the next 4, 3 decent home fixtures, and also how Havertz's form lately and chances and stuff has been virtually non-existent.
Don't I know it?
And Havertz up to Watkins is 1 million. So looking around this team, where could you get that 1 million? So for example, you could Gabriel down to Timber. That frees up about 0.5, 0.6 straight off.
Just kill the Rodgers spot. Just kill it. Just take him down to a 4.5. We just said Semenyo play every game. Do you know what I mean? Havertz to Watkins. You've already got one Aston Villa attack. You're not going to go double Villa attack, are you, really?
True.
So, yeah, I'd just kill the Rodgers spot. And maybe a Gabriel to a Timber. But, yeah, like you say, but I wouldn't make 2 moves to try and do it. I'd just probably kill the Rodgers spot to a Diblin or somebody cheaper. That's a bit of a dud to get Ollie Watkins. But, yeah, I like this draft. I just don't like it as much as the last one.
Right. Haaland draft.
Here we go.
Get the robot in.
Here we go.
Reading this one out.
The troll.
Verbruggen and Fabianski in goal, so same as the last draft. Back 5 is the same as the last draft. Canate,
It is, yeah.
Aït-Nouri, Gabriel Hall, Colwill. Midfield, one change in midfield is Saka instead of Salah. So you've got midfield of Palmer, Rodgers, and Burmo, Saka, Semenyo, and up front Haaland alongside Cunha and João Pedro.
I like this team. I like this team. It's a nice looking team. I think so far, like, there's a blend between those three that's a really, really, really nice team. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously this one's got Haaland in it, but I quite like the Saka option. I like Cunha and João Pedro as the other two strikers. I know I just had a conversation about an Isak and a Watkins and a Jackson, but I think Cunha and João Pedro are good options. João Pedro is probably a bit of a rotation risk coming back from injury, but he's had a good international break, I expect, so he might be able to hit the ground running. But I expected to sort of start 2 in every 3 games, João Pedro, over the Christmas period, and obviously have cameos off the bench. But no, the back 5, again, still a really nice back 5, isn't it? There's not really anybody else missing from that you'd like to try and get in, other than like a Luca Dean or a which you could easily get for like a Colwill or a Hall or a Aït-Nouri. Vardio is obviously a great defender, somebody I have in my team, but I'm not sure his fixtures are skewing towards clean sheets over the next few. But the midfield of Palmer, Rodgers and Burmo, Saka and Semenyo is a perfectly reasonable midfield to get Haaland in. And Cunha and João Pedro as the second and third striker. They're not idiots. That's just 2 very good strikers in there. So I like this one. I think this one will score higher than the last one, but I'm not sure it will score as high as the first one.
That midfield is my midfield.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
Front lines.
Yeah, of course it is.
Front line, 1 is the same, 2's different. I've got Delap and Wissa where this draft has Cunha and João Pedro.
You're working towards that back line, aren't you?
Possibly. Well, at the moment, I've got Fabianski. I've got Aït-Nouri, Gabriel. It's the other 3. Robertson's my Liverpool representation at the moment, but that's one I need to try to raise some funds from, but we'll come on to teams later.
Yeah, I like that draft. I think that's a nice looking draft. It's just obviously not got Salah in it, which is rubbish.
Yeah.
The last 2 didn't have Haaland in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't have them all. But no,
Next
I like that draft.
Differential one, which this is differential apart from Salah and Palmer. So a lot different to the others. Still Fabianski, because basically he's the only 4 million playing goalkeeper. This one has Sanchez over Ryan Verbruggen. So yeah, in goal for the differentials team, Sanchez and Fabianski. Back 5, Konate of Liverpool, Digne of Aston Villa, Timber of Arsenal, O'Shea of Ipswich, and Aït-Nouri of Wolves. Midfield, Salah, Palmer, Odegaard, Gordon, fresh off his opening England goal, and Bruno Fernandes. And then a Strand Larson, Raul Jimenez of Fulham, and Watkins as a front line. Thoughts on this one?
There's too many risks.
What, minutes wise?
No, not minutes wise, but form wise. These are players that aren't like. I don't like Strand Larson and Jimenez as much as Cunha and João Pedro, for example. I don't like
Do you
Odegaard
think?
as much as Saka or Mbermo. I like Anthony Gordon. He's in my thoughts. I think he's a good player. Obviously, a good player with good fixtures, playing in a good team. We spoke about, everybody knows how I feel about Luca Dean and Timber and Aït-Nouri and
Yeah.
Konate because we spoke about it earlier on. O'Shea's a nice $4 million option. I think Ipswich have got good fixtures, but again, are you really going to ever play an Ipswich defender without it being whilst being held hostage? Probably not, because they're not likely to keep clean sheets.
I think
And
he's
again, Bruno Fernandes for me, just Man United for me right now, are just a massive question mark. Don't
very
know.
true.
If Ruud van Nistelrooy was still in charge and they weren't going with Amorim and they weren't going to rip up the 4-3-3 or whatever system they've been trying to play, and they were going to have to redo a whole new system, if it was Van Nistelrooy, then yeah, I'd 100% be looking at players like Garnacho, Fernandes, Mazraoui, Dallo, good attacking players, but they're not. And I have no idea how it's going to go.
No.
So I'm just going to wait. Again, though, this is a perfectly nice team. You've got obviously Strand Larsen versus Cunha. We've had this conversation before on this pod. I went Strand Larsen. I think he's better value for money, but obviously Cunha's a better player, but he sort of costs a lot more for that reason. Jimenez versus João Pedro. Jimenez is one of those players that was doing really well, and everybody was like, "Must get Jimenez. You must get Jimenez." And he's had a couple of blanks, and now everybody's a bit like Cunha this and João Pedro that. João Pedro was the forgotten man 2 weeks ago until he came back from injury. Fernandes as well. For anybody that watches Let's Talk FPL, he's really been patient with him and got his rewards for it. But again, he's a bit of a hot and cold player. I'm not entirely sure how he's going to get on in this new system. I really like Anthony Gordon. I think he's a great player. I think he's good value. I think for those looking to move off in Burmo for a player of a similar
Price point.
but with better fixtures, do it. I think it's a good idea. Odegaard is obviously a fantastic footballer, isn't he? Let's be honest. One of the best midfielders in the Premier League by a mile. Very good player. Gets plenty of assists. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But is he a great FPL option? There's better, I think. I think there's better for that price point.
I think not as much as he's not as good an FPL asset as he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's
Arsenal
playing
were a lot
slightly
more.
different.
They were a lot more free flowing and attacking, and then they got picked to the title. And I read this article somewhere about, I think it was comparing coaches. I think it was actually questioning whether Arteta's the new Mourinho, and by that I don't necessarily mean that in the context of trophy count, but more in the tactical coaching aspect of focusing a lot more on the defence, because Arsenal were a bit leaky, but then last season it really showed, really tightened up defensively, but then they're not scoring as many goals as they had been the season before.
Now this season they're doing neither. But to be honest with you, with Odegaard being injured, they've obviously lost quite a lot of creativity. So it'll be interesting to see how much better they are now he's back. But I agree with you. I think Arsenal aren't necessarily as good as an attack as other teams. From an FPL point of view, there are other players that can get more points than him for a similar price point.
They're not as free flowing as they were a couple of years ago.
But that might change.
Yeah. That might be down to the Odegaard injury. So
yeah, that's what I mean. That you don't know. He might come back in and then he might burst into life again. I don't expect Arteta to be okay with how they've been from an attacking standpoint over the last 5 or 6 games. Like I do expect them to be like foot to the floor a little bit over these coming good run of fixtures. But obviously Salah and Palmer in there. Definitely don't turn your nose up at them. They are probably going to be, I reckon these two are going to be the highest owned players over the next couple of weeks.
Salah and Palmer.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm.
I think so. I think Haaland was number one from an ownership standpoint. I think he's going to drop to 2 at least, if not 3.
Mm.
And Saka's almost going to be a differential.
Yeah.
Which is nuts, but is what it is. But yeah, and at the back, I liked all of those options. I do like all those options. Like we said,
O'Shea's looking like at the moment, the sort of the current bench fodder 4.0 option.
They've got good fixtures. Good fixtures. But Ipswich is from Southampton fans, so take it how you like. They've got good fixtures, but they're not a good defence.
Mm. Right.
So
we've got one more draft to look at, which is the All in Football draft that Barry sent, which I'll read out in goal. And he did say one of his co-hosts is on a wild card this week. It's active, and when he sent me this image, he sent it using the app. I just transferred it onto the hub, but this was his mate's actual wild card draft.
Yeah.
At that point, so whether he's changed it, I don't know. But when he did, reading it out, Raya Fabianski pairing in goal. Back 5, Kirkez, Aït-Nouri, Konate, Harwood-Bellis, and Wout-Faes of Leicester. Midfield, Palmer, Saka, Salah, Fernandes, and Rodgers. And up front, Wissa, Cunha, and Isak. Thoughts on this?
I think this one's close. I'd probably do Vissa to João Pedro, and I'd probably upgrade one of the defenders to a Gabriel Timber. Do you know what I mean? I'd probably just strengthen that a little bit more. I know obviously they've got Raya in goal. I know we were talking earlier off pre-recording, but I think double Arsenal defence would be a nice thing to have over the coming fixtures. But yeah, that's a nice team. That's a good team, good solid team. Again, I like a Harwood-Bellis and a Wout-Faes. You're playing 3-4-3 most weeks with maybe Rodgers and Vissa, probably based on Brentford's fixtures, rotating.
My thoughts on this one is doesn't sit nicely with me having a 4.1 and a 4.2.
No, that was what I was going to say.
When there's several much better options for just that little bit more of 4.4 to 4.7 bracket. So I would consider with that possibly, certainly with that midfield, I'd consider Wissa to João Pedro to free up 0.5, 0.6, and adding that
0.7, I think.
And adding that to, say, a Faes to get 4.9, and then you've got a 4.9 million.
Could have a Luca Dean in there. So you could have Luca Dean in there. Yeah. I mean, I would like. I mean, if you wanted to, the Vissa de João Pedro gives you 0.7.
Yeah.
It's 0.5 from Faes to what's his name, and then you could do Faes to Luca Dean, and that would give you 0.2 to do Harwood-Bellis to Lewis Hall. And then all of a sudden you've got a much nicer defence there.
Yeah.
But I'd try and get an Arsenal defender in there. I know you got Raya, but I'll probably just try and get another one in there. Maybe a Konate down to a Luca Dean, and then you've got some money to spend elsewhere. But no, that's a very nice team. You can see where the money's been spent.
Yeah.
Palmer, Salah, Saka, Fernandes. They're 4 nailed-on players. You're going to play that front three pretty much every week. With Rodgers on the bench, like you said, I agree. I think going into a Christmas period with 8 Nuri on 4 yellow cards, Kirkez is obviously good going forward, but Bournemouth aren't like a great defence. Canate with some tough fixtures, a little bit of goal threat, obviously, but in a very good defence. With Harwood, Bellis and Valfas on the bench, all it takes is 8 Nuri to get booked, and you've got Harwood, Bellis or Fass. So, yeah, I'm not sure that's a great move. But we've just spoke about ways of putting some money in.
I mean the front eight are brilliant. You're not going to get many. You're not going to get many better than that are going without the robot. Really, it's just the depth in that defense. Really,
this is a typical. I've just sold Haaland, and I want the world. Do you know what I mean? This is like your typical. Let loose in fantasy football with 15 million. So I like it. I think it's a nice draft. But I just would rather I'd have a bit more at the back.
So with that in mind, I've got up this delightful table minus the So I've labelled the draft up with the big at the back, big up top, the Haaland draft, the differential draft, and the All in Football podcast draft. Where do you want to start? You don't necessarily have to. You can have a go at guessing what percentage out of 100, what rating they got, or you could just say, I think this one's the best, or.
I'm going to say differentials one's the worst.
Yeah.
So I reckon the differentials one's the worst. Then what do I think? Then it's tough. Then I think the big up top one's second worst.
Okay.
So how many's there? 2, 4, 5. So fifth is differentials. Fourth is big up top. I'm going to say the Haaland one's third.
Yeah. So it's then between the big at the back and the all in
that's
football.
tight. That's tight because all in football's got better mids but a poor defence. No, I'm gonna go all in football second. I'm gonna go big at the back first. I wonder if I'm right. I bet I'm miles out. I bet they're all quite close. I reckon big at the back, all in football, and Haaland drafts. I reckon they're close, the three of them.
So you're locking in big at the back first.
Yeah.
All in football second.
Yeah.
Haaland third.
Mm-hmm.
Big up top fourth.
Yeah.
Differentials fifth. That's what you're going as. You know what? I wish I had one of those magic pens that I could just graffiti on my laptop screen. Rather than all actually saying that. Where are the tools? Pen, here we go.
We do have a magic pen.
Yeah, the handwriting will be rubbish though. Big at the back, 1. All in 2. Football. 2. Haaland, you said, was 3.
Yeah, I quite like another look, but without having another look,
do you want to go back?
Because I'm pretty sure Haaland had Cunha, João Pedro. Because FPL Hub do like weird things. They do weird things. Like at the beginning of the season, Ben Barrett and Diaz was like a must-have 5.5 like midfielder. He was like the top, but he's actually like that was odd. Yeah, I think that's right. Go on then.
What, do you want to go back to glance at them?
No, well, the only so I genuinely think big up top's fourth, and I think differential's fifth. The only three I got. Yeah, go on then. We'll go back again. Go back to the thing. Let me have a book.
Which one do you want to see?
Go back to the beginning and then just scroll through them again. I need a pen. There's a bit of paper.
Oh, too far. Are you writing them down?
No, I'm just gonna I'm gonna write down what I reckon the percentage is. So where is this big at the back?
Yeah.
That's stronger than I remember. Right, okay. This is not game week percentage. This is team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's big up top. You deep in thought?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I reckon those two are very close. Go on. I'm gonna change that.
There's a Haaland draft.
These are all 90% at least. All of them. I reckon. Apart from the differentials one, which will be like an 88. Yeah, I'm going to swap those, I reckon. Yeah.
Differentials one's back up.
Yeah.
And the all in football.
Right.
Right. Okay. Any changes you want to make?
Yeah. Big up top is now third.
Yeah.
Haaland draft is fourth. So I've swapped them round. Basically, the percentages I reckon they are 93% for big at the back, team percentage, 92% for big up top, 91% for Haaland, 89% for the differentials, although I reckon it's 88, and then 92% for the all-in football one. So I actually think the all-in football one and the big up top one are same percentage.
Okay.
But I mean, I say all this, I could be totally wrong.
Right.
So let's be having you.
Reveal. There we go. So fifth, differentials 92%. So you got that spot on. Big up top, you did have it right initially.
Yeah, I swapped it. Swapped it.
That was in fourth with 95%. Then you've got in joint second with 97 is the Haaland draft and the all in football.
Yeah, I've just swapped those round, so that's annoying. Because if I hadn't, I'd have had first, second, and third there. And then the only ones I would have... Yeah, no, I'd have had that right. Oh, that's annoying. Go back and do that again. Go back and do that again. Ignore what I just said. Swap those back again. Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, the only because you got fifth right, you initially got fourth right. The only thing at first go was you put All in Football second and Haaland third, rather than it being second equal. But yeah, that was a good effort. That.
Not bad. Genuinely though, there's some nice teams in there, and I think with the blend of all of them, certain like things you could pick from one and put in the other. Like for example, rather than Strand Larson and Jimenez with Watkins, you could have had Acuna and a João Pedro. There's some nice teams. People are going to have some nice teams coming out of these wildcards.
Yeah,
makes me almost annoyed I don't have mine, but you live and learn.
Well, we've done our draft. These are some out there drafts, lengthy discussion.
Like the look of any of those alternative drafts? Are they similar to yours? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Join us again for our next video where Jack and I discuss our plans for Game Week 12. Bye bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe.